I welcome you all. This is Jagadeesan, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering in RMD Engineering College. So in this video, we'll learn about JPA mapping of one-to-one association. It is a one-to-one mapping. In Java persistent API, mapping one-to-one association between the entities. Entity is nothing but table. So one-to-one table mapping is there. Is a common scenario which each instance of one entity is associated with a single instance. One table having a one instance of another entity and vice versa. So another table having another entity. This relationship can be mapped in different ways depending on how we want to represent the relationship in the database. A detailed explanation to how to map one-to-one association in JPA. The basic concept is given. One-to-one relationship implies that the record in one entity is correspond to the exactly one record is another entity. So one table to another table. This mapping is two ways, bidirectional mapping, both entity are aware of each other. Unidirectional mapping, only one entity aware of the other. So annotations and configuration, unidirectional, one-to-one association, bidirectional, one-to-one association. First we go with the unidirectional one-to-one association. Unidirectional one-to-one association, one entity is reference to the other another entity for other entity, but the other entity does not have the reference back. So that example, consider passport and person, two table is said entity. The person have exactly one passport. The passport does not refer to the person. So for that we have to import the class. First we have to import entity, import ID, import one to one. Then entity is annotation. It is for table creation. What is the name of the table? Person. Why? Because the public class person class can be created here. At ID is a primary key attribute. Is assigned to the long ID. The another attribute is name. Here at one to one annotation. With the help of that, we are going to communicate other another class is passport. Another class how we are going to characterize it passport and getter and setter. Now we are going to create a passport class. This is another table at entity public class passport at ID. Here also primary key is a long ID. The another attribute is called string number passport number. Okay, then getter and setter will be there. Then bidirectional one-to-one association. Here both the site references how we are going to achieve. In a bidirectional one-to-one association, each entity has a reference to the other. If you need to use at one-to-one annotation, both the side of the relationship. For example, continuing with the person and passport, we have mapped the bidirectional relationship as follow. For the packages, input entity ID one-to-one join column. At the entity is there. For table is created person class. At ID is a primary key attribute long ID. Then another attribute is name. Here clearly mentioned at one-to-one mapped by person. So private passport and passport table. We are going to map it with the person table with the passport. Then another table at entity, public class passport, another class at ID is a primary key, ID number is the one-to-one annotation. Passport to person, how we are going to connect with help of that at joint column annotation name equal to person ID. The person ID column should be there in the person class with communicating a passport class. For that reason only we are going to create a reference from passport to person with help of adjoint column. Finally, we are going to write the getter and setter. Thank you.